Good morning, welcome to Planet Mojo. Today is the second in my series of making my first wine, and today I will be crushing the grapes and starting the fermentation process. Seeing how this is my first time at this, I have a list of stuff that I gotta do today, and I'm getting all of my information both from where I bought the supplies and from the Home Winemaking Channel, mostly from the Home Winemaking Channel, and some of it I just have to figure out myself because that video is not super thorough. The first thing I'm going to be doing today is cleaning all the equipment. That includes this bin. I'm going to be crushing and destemming the grapes in this bin. I have 4 new buckets with 4 new lids and the lid for the bin. I'm going to clean all that stuff as well as anything else I'll be using today. And I'm going to be doing that with this potassium metabisulfate. So it says that you add 2 ounces of this to 1 gallon of water. So I'm going to weigh out 2 ounces, add it to a gallon of water, get it in a pail, and then I'm just going to wipe down. I'm going to rinse these out first with just regular, we have well water here, which is really nice and clean. Then I'm just going to wipe down the entire inside surface with potassium metabisulfate. I'm going to do that on this, that, and the buckets. And the egg crate. I don't have the egg crate in here, but I'm going to clean the egg crate as well. Then we'll get on to the next step. All right, the first thing I'm going to do is open this, and I want to make sure that I don't damage the Ziploc because I'm going to be probably using this for a couple of years. You have to add this to the wine as well, but just a tiny little bit. How much is this? This is a pound, so the vast majority of this is going to be used for cleaning each year, I believe. All right, turn the scale on, let it zero out, put my little thingy on there, and then get a tare, zeroes it back out, and then I need 2 ounces, which is 56 grams. Ooh, 57. That'll work. All right, what I'm going to do is take one of my new buckets and pour in a gallon of water. Okay, that is 1 gallon of warm well water and the 2 ounces of potassium metabisulfate. Kind of mix it up a little bit. All right, just make sure I get the edges on this one. And now I will use this solution to clean everything else, and then I'll just dump this stuff out. And what this is doing, it's not necessarily cleaning, it's just killing any wild yeast and or bacteria so that it doesn't grow in the wine. All right, I'll get the rest of these finished and we'll start crushing the grapes. I have the grapes all nice and rinsed off and cleaned. This is what I got out of the 2.5 buckets. It's actually nastier looking underneath there. There's probably some good berries on top, but for the most part it's green berries and stuff that the birds pecked. Kind of nasty. If I were making a bigger batch, I would, just have to work with whatever is there. I wouldn't be able to clean everything out. But as I'm crushing the grapes, I would pick stuff out as well. Okay, so the recipe from the YouTube video for 5 pounds calls for 5 teaspoons of pectic acid. This is what they gave me at the shop. I'm guessing it's the right stuff. But this calls for a half teaspoon per gallon. He was using 10 teaspoons for 100 gallon, or no, 10 teaspoons for 6 gallons. I have exactly half as much as he does, so hence the 5 teaspoons. But I guess I'm going to go with what it says on the package here. Then he had a quarter teaspoon of potassium metabisulfate. So we're going to go with the eighth of a teaspoon. I don't have an eighth of a teaspoon measure, so I'm just going to have to do it by eye. Unfortunately, the way these are shaped, it's going to be kind of difficult, but I think I'll be able to get it pretty close to right. All right, and then I have yeast nutrient, which he said to use. And this is 1 teaspoon per gallon. And I'll have about 3 gallons. Well, it's per gallon of must. So I'm thinking there's probably going to be more than 3 gallons of must. I think this will make 3 gallons of wine. So I'll play this by ear. Also, this says to add it an hour before the start of fermentation. It might be a little longer than that. Once I rehydrate the yeast here, both of these have to come to pretty close to the same temperature, otherwise you'll shock the yeast. So when I rinsed them with warm water, so they should be close to room temperature right now, and the yeast will be a bit warmer. So I think I'll just add this right away, and then once I'm completely done with the crushing and destemming, I'll hydrate the yeast and then wait an hour and then add the yeast to the buckets. It's going to be crushed in there and then added to the buckets. All right, let's get these powdered ingredients measured out. They're going to go in at the very end, but I'm going to measure them out now and have them waiting. I have my ingredients all measured out. As far as this yeast nutrient goes, this is diammonium phosphate. I have buckets full of that stuff. That's basically a fertilizer. But it says 1 teaspoon per gallon of must. I have 2.5 buckets, which they're 5-gallon buckets, but that's not how much must I'm going to get out of it. So I just guessed that I'll get 8 gallons of must. So I put 8 teaspoons of this in there. This was correct. It says add a half a teaspoon per gallon of juice or a tenth of a teaspoon per pound of fruit. I have 50 pounds of fruit, so that would be 5 teaspoons, just like the guy in the video said. I'll put a link to the video I'm talking about in the description. And I eyeballed 1/8 of a teaspoon of potassium metabisulfate. I got it all in here. I didn't mix it up yet, but I'll get that done. So now I'm going to start crushing the grapes, and then I'll add this to it before I do the final mix. And I still have to check the pH. This is the only thing I have to check it with. This is refractometer, and I don't think it's as accurate as a hygrometer. I actually ordered a hygrometer, but this is going to have to do. So once I get everything crushed and destemmed and squeezed up into the bin there, I'm going to measure the bricks and add sugar. I have a pH meter, but it didn't look like it was working very well yesterday. So hopefully I can test the pH as well. If not, I'm going to be running to that store tomorrow. I'll just get some pH strips, and I got to get some oak for aging it, all that kind of stuff. But for now, it's time to crush and destem. Okay, here's my workstation. I have my crushing area. I got my bucket of grapes. I have just a bucket with warm sudsy water for cleaning my hands occasionally if I need to. Got my rolly chair and a towel to dry my hands, and I should be off to the races. Okay, and I need a bucket to toss the stems in. Alright, the grapes are crushed. There's the stems. Here's the grapes. See, I used a much bigger bin than the one on the video. And again, I'll put the link to that video in the description. But this is a much bigger bin, so it doesn't look like it has a whole lot of juice, but I still have to break up these berries. So the next thing I'm going to do is, well, I'm going to turn this crate over and crush these a bit. Then I'm going to crush them by hand, and when I got them crushed as much as I want to get them, then I'm going to test the bricks and add sugar to get it up to 24 bricks. So let's start crushing. Alright, the crushing and destemming is over with. I thought I'd let you know the size of this bin. You can see the dimensions there, but it is 116 quarts or 110 liters. It's a pretty big bin, but you got to get that in it, and if you're doing 100 pounds, I think this would be perfect. I could have did it in a much smaller bin, but it is what it is. So now I need to get some clear liquid and test the bricks. Then I'm going to adjust the bricks up to 24 with sugar, and I'll crush it some more and work that in. Then I believe, yeah, then I just put it into the buckets. Hopefully they go about 4/5 full, and then I can get the yeast ready. Alright, here's the juice. It is nice and dark. I just got to get some in my refractometer. Alright, and now I got to look through it. Oh, that's pretty low. It's down to 19. So I'm going to do the calculation for how much sugar to add, get that added, and then we can dump it into buckets. Alright, I calculated the sugar, and with the bricks at 19, it takes 2.2 pounds of sugar to bring it up to 24. And I'm shooting for 24 because that's what the dude said to go for, to get the correct alcohol content for a red wine like this. So I'm going to add in this sugar, get it mixed in really well, crush some more berries, and then pour them into the buckets. Okay, I have 2 ounces of water at 98.6. It's probably, I went to like 99 because it cools down fast. And I'm going to add the yeast to that. And then stir it up just a bit. This is called hydrating the yeast because it's dried yeast. Actually, I don't think you need to stir it, but stir it I did. Alright, now I'm going to let the yeast activate for 1 hour. Hopefully it cools during that time so that the must and the yeast are at about the same temperature. They say you can go up to 10 degrees difference, but if you have too much of a difference in temperature, it'll shock the yeast, and we don't want that to happen. So I'm going to wait about an hour and then add the yeast to these, and then I got to get them on some heat. I'll put them on a greenhouse mat and keep them at about 85 degrees for the next 7-ish days. Okay, it's been about 15 minutes. I went up and started reading about rehydrating yeast, and right away I read where you shouldn't go more than 15 minutes with your rehydrating process because there's no nutrients in the water, and the yeast needs nutrients to survive. So once you reactivate them, they're going to want something to eat right away. All right, I'm going to get a squeegee and squeegee the rest of that out of there. Okay, all done. That was called pitching the yeast. So there's a layer on top of both of these, about an ounce. I'm going to cover these back up again, and they'll be making carbon dioxide and alcohol. So these buckets will fill with carbon dioxide, and the cover's not on like tight, so it's going to leak out of there. So they'll be pretty much in an oxygen-free environment. Now I'm going to go grab one of my heating mats from the greenhouse and get that set up with some insulation, some rigid insulation underneath it. And I'm going to put a blanket over these. I'm going to keep it in the house. We don't have a basement, so I got to figure out where I'm going to put it. Then as the yeast starts working, this is going to swell up a bit and foam and do a bunch of other stuff. And you need to mix it up at least 3 times a day, but you can do it as many times as you want. Okay, so I'm going to wait a little bit and see if you can see any reaction with the yeast, and I'll show that. And then if there's no reaction, that's going to be it for this video. Alright, so I got this on a heating pad. That's a professional greenhouse heating pad. Works very well. It should bring it up by about 10 degrees, and the ambient temperature in here is about 71 or 72. So that should bring this up to a real nice optimal temperature. I believe he said 80 to 85. I'll have to go rewatch the video and then make any adjustments. So I'm going to take this stems and miscellaneous garbage and go weigh it, just so I know how much the stems weigh. From that was 2.5 buckets, so I'm going to get a weight on that just for my records. Okay, I got the scale zeroed out. Now I will take one of these empty buckets, and it should be 1.8. Yep. And then I'll get a tare weight on that. And now measure these stems and miscellaneous dross. 3.10. So it's 1.3 pounds. Oh no, it is 3.10 pounds of stuff, because I did the tare weight. And then there was about 2 pounds in that bowl of stuff. So I'm going to call it 5 pounds of waste per 50 pounds, which is pretty good at, 10% waste. Easy to remember. All right. I think I'm going to leave that in here tonight to keep it away from the bugs until I can get rid of it tomorrow. All right. I have that must heating up over there. We'll go check on that, and then that'll be it for this edition of My First Wine. Okay, we have a temperature of 86, and from the video, he said to wait till the next morning, and it should be ready for the first punch down. The grapes should be swollen up and, start foaming up a bit. So that's going to end today's video. Tomorrow, I will do the first punch down, and the next actual video will probably be in about a week, when I do something else to this stuff besides punching it down. I will record each day, but there's not enough material for a full video, so next video is probably going to be about a week away. So if you want to see all that stuff, make sure you subscribe and click on the update icon. If you have any questions or comments, make sure you put them in the comment section below. And if you give the video a like and or share it, it helps the channel out greatly. Thanks for watching and have a great day.